Welcome to Elevate Your Game Business and Mindset Talks. Today I'm with Matt Gamble. Matt, welcome. Thanks for coming on.
Thank you, man. Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
We had a phone call a couple of weeks ago.
Mm.
I reached out to you, mate, just to see if you wanted to come on the podcast and share some knowledge with the listeners, obviously. And you're quite happy to do so. So I appreciate that. Seems like we've got a couple of similarities in our life, where we've grown up and the things we've done. And I just want to see if you could enlighten us, mate. What does Matt Gamble do?
I've got in the human life, I've got a gym. So we've got G3 Fitness. I've had G3 for I think 10 years now, a bit longer, maybe 12 years. Started that when I was 17, just a world gym, just being a PT. And then I just realized that I could become a contractor and start doing my own thing. From there, it sort of grew to boot camps, and we just grew and then started personal training. They got to the point where sort of the head was on the roof, where I was sort of like, I can continue on just personal training, but I felt like there was a bigger vision out there. So then from that point, we built G3 Fitness Center. And then
Where's that located?
That's in Penrith on High Street.
Yep.
So that was 7 years ago, just over 7 years ago. And then it got to the point where the system was good enough to be franchised. So we went down the franchising route. We ended up with 6 locations. And then it wasn't until about a year ago we went independent. It got to the point where I just felt like all the franchisees had a skill set of being able to run their own show, a lot of energy, and a lot of friends and stuff that bought one. And I just felt like it got to the point where I was sort of like, I feel like everyone can sort of do their own thing. And then obviously the mix of COVID and like price increases and people pay, like, franchisees paying royalties and stuff as well. I just knew it sort of got a bit much. So we sort of just emptied the cup a little bit, me and my fiance Janae. And then we went on a different route of building Unwind Studios. So we've got a recovery center 50 meters up the road from G3 Penrith. I think I sort of just went down the path of simplifying. As you get older, you sort of realize sometimes less is more. And then we just recently, 3 weeks, opened Unwind. So we've been moving through that as well.
And where's the Unwind? 50 metres up the road?
High Street, same thing.
Yeah, nice.
On a corner upstairs as well. It's just like the exact same story, just 7 years later.
Yeah, and for those that don't know, what is Unwind?
Unwind Studio is a recovery center. So we've got a breathing room, which is a hot room where we do hot yoga, stretch and mobility, hot abs and glutes, and a sweat class. And then we've got a big fire and ice room. We've got a 25-man sauna. We've got cold plunges and stuff like that. That was sort of the top layer of it. A part of me went on a little bit of a journey the last couple of years of more or less a self-development / spiritual journey. During COVID, I sort of had a bit of an awakening because all my life, similar to you, we sort of just grew up doing what we could do, learn what we could learn, and I wouldn't have it any other way. But I just feel like I built G3 Fitness, and it was like the first thing that was mine.
Yep.
So I had this deep-rooted attachment to it, which I still do, and I'm still moving through a process of letting go more and more. But during COVID, I had to put G3 down for a little bit because all the gyms were shut.
It's tough.
Fuck, it was tough. And little did I know that was like the biggest blessing in my life, that I could actually start to unpack layers within myself of asking myself who I am beyond G3 Fitness.
Yeah.
Which was such an amazing thing. It was terrifying to go through, but it just brought out the biggest blessings of like learning about myself, how I operate as a person. And then I sort of got addicted to the feeling of peace. During COVID, all this shit's fallen down and I'm just feeling all this peace, and everyone's like, what the fuck's wrong with you, man? Like, What are you doing? Everyone's crumbling over here and you're shooting for the stars.
Well, for us entrepreneurs in COVID, the world ended, right? Like the government pretty much just said, that's it.
Yep.
Yeah, we'll give you some money, but you're shut. So just take us through how that felt for you in that first moment in hearing that gyms are shutting.
Yeah.
Like, what was going through your head?
I was down at the river at 10 o'clock at night, like with a flashlight, looking for space to be able to do some boot camps or something.
Yeah.
I felt like it was all on me at the start.
Yeah.
Like all my members were like, they didn't say anything, but I just, as you know, as a business owner, you take on the good, bad, and the ugly. I took the pressure on of thinking, I had to find a result, but there was no result, and I wasn't the only gym shut.
No.
And, it wasn't like the gyms down the road were open and we were shut. It was, everything was blocked off. So there was a little bit of scratching and crawling there for a little bit, but then I think, just let go of it because it's all I could do. you know?
Did you think that at the start you really thought, "I have to fight," because you've got all that pressure from your members and they're all looking and turning to you as you've got all the answers, right?
Well, it wasn't only that, it was the 5 other gyms that we had
Yeah.
because we're the franchisors.
Yeah.
It
Yep.
was like they're asking me, "What do we do?" And I'm like, "I didn't learn about this at TAFE.
Yeah.
This
Yeah.
wasn't in my fucking certificates."
Yeah.
So that was sort of a little bit scary of taking on that pressure, but, once you can realize that you can actually take the backpack off and you don't have to carry all the weight, we just did what we could do. And I think that's where in life, sometimes when your back's up against the wall, it's just keeping it really small and intimate of like, what can I actually just do today?
Yeah.
And that's what I could do. We could do Zoom sessions. We could rent out equipment. We could provide online service of some sort. And that was all we could do at that point.
So you're really going through adversity right then, and it's just like a lot of people throw in the towel and give up.
Mm.
Why didn't you?
Just the love for the members and the love for what I do, like just the passionate side of knowing that I create a space where people can put their stuff down for a little bit. Jim Carrey's got a famous quote of like freeing people from concern. So the reason why he did all the comedy movies of Dumb and Dumber, Liar, Liar, just so people could rock up to his movies and put their shit down for a little bit,
Yeah.
and have a bit of a laugh. So that was sort of our motto going into G3 of being able to provide a space where people can free themselves from concern. So I just knew that this place was like their outlet.
Yeah.
And I can't just let that fall,
And how was your partner at the time?
Janae, she was really good. She's very logic, where I'm more of she just lets me spread my wings and do my thing. And then she'll pull me up and say, "Oh, yeah, but bills need to be fucking paid."
Yeah.
Where I'm like, "It's all good. The universe will work it out."
Yeah.
It's good to have faith, but then it's also good to be grounded and have logic as well. So she was just like, "We'll just do what we can do." We started building systems, online Zoom sessions and rent out equipment. And that's all we could do during that phase.
And how important was it to have a supporting partner at that time for you?
Oh, massive. We just stood tall. Even our trainers, I remember one of my trainers calling me and he just started with us just before COVID and he broke down on the phone and
Yep.
he's just like, "Fuck, man, what am I," like he just was freaking out. I said, "Bro," "I'll make sure money comes out of my pocket to make sure you and your family are provided for. Like it's all good." And
Yep.
he just said, "Mate, you don't," and he's still to this day, he goes, "You don't understand how important that phone call was for me." Because I
Yeah.
just made the switch, which was a big move for him. He was working with I think his auntie at the time, and then he came over to G3 full time. And then he just said it on the phone. He goes, "I'll never forget that day that you just said to me that it's all good." I said, "Mate, I would pull money out of my pocket to make sure you're all good. Like, trust me, it's fine." Because everyone is just scarcity fucking.
Yeah.
And the old mate, Gladysbury Jicklin, whatever her name is, didn't make it any better. Every day she would jump on and tell us the COVID cases. And that's where that would determine my day. And I just said to her, that's where I let go. I go, "I can't
Yeah.
fucking do this anymore."
Yeah.
You'd see her walk out and she's got this look and you're like, "Fuck, it's gone down." You'd be a shit mood all day. Next day, "Hey guys, it's gone up. We're good," or whatever the way was. But fuck, I was just like an emotional roller coaster.
Like a yo-yo.
100%, where I just let go of all of it and be like, "All right, you just let me know when I can go back."
Yeah.
So
I think at that time in business for a lot of people, it was you're watching the news because you need to know what's going on. But then it didn't take too much time to then go, "Oh, I've just got to turn this shit off." Like you've got to stay focused because people are counting on you. You've got to still turn up, regardless if money's coming in or not. That's the hat that you decided to wear, right? And you've just got to keep pushing forward. What I'd like to know is going from being an entrepreneur, starting a business, founding that, to then growing it to become to franchise it out. What's the process involved in that? Like how did you go through? What are the steps that you had to take to do that?
we had to build systems and procedures to be able to streamline those things. And I wish, if I could go back, there would have been 1,000 things I would have done differently. I think that's everyone, but because it was friends that bought them.
Yep.
So it was very difficult. Like I think one of them we signed at nutrition station on a napkin. We're like, "Yeah, bro, yeah, you go have one." Like, you look back now, you go, "Fuck, we should have," and it's beautiful because all those lessons have led me to unwind. And if we do franchise unwind, I've learned 1,000 things, but just systems and procedures of, trying to see fit in the sense of, because franchising is a very difficult game. You got to stay in this gray area where it's like friends that have bought them, but then also being the franchisor, where I wasn't good at putting that hat on and, being a bit of a straight shooter, being like, "Hey, pull your head in." I like to ensure everyone's happy and winning, you know, but I feel like you need to have that balance in business where it's like pull the hat on of like, you know, getting everyone to work together in community, but then also knowing that everyone knows that you're the boss and you're the shot caller.
Yeah.
So that was a bit of a difficult process for me that I moved through, but you know, we all learn lessons, and yeah, it was just how it was supposed to be.
Yeah. And then you made a decision to pull back. You said before about franchising out.
Yeah.
What was entailed in that for you?
We got to the point where me and my missus, fiance, we owned a gym.
Yeah.
We're franchised 5. We've got 2 kids. We've got family. We've got unwind that I feel like my soul was calling me to do as well. And it just was too much. And it just, the quality wasn't there, you know, and because friends bought G3s, it's sort of like, you good? Yep, I'm good. Okay, cool. But then it was like, it wasn't the way probably franchise should be, you know? So we just sort of looked at all that, and I just said to Janae, I'm like, what do you want to do? She's like, well, you know, you sort of started G3. What are you feeling? I'm like, I just think it's just, there's too many things involved, because each franchisee, there's 2 or 3 people involved, whether it's brothers and sisters, partners, whatever. And then obviously we still had people in HQ, but me and Janae were sort of running the show. It just got too heavy. And I just said to them, I was just honest with them all, sat them all down and just said, look, you guys are all capable enough of running your own show. We're going to cut these contracts up. You don't pay royalties anymore, and you do whatever you need to do. You know, there's no bad blood. There's no bad energy. It's
still
just,
got the name.
Still, if you want us to keep the name, keep the name. We own the IP. So it's like, if you want to continue on, and just simplified, we just emptied the cup, because you can't expect the cup to be full if it's full. You know, you want to refill it with, and like I said, you know, my mind was telling me 1,000 things. Fuck, what are going to people say? What are we going to do? Are they going to think? But then it was just like, bro, as long as me and my family and my body feels good in like my soul and my head, then it just frees me up.
Yeah. I think it's very important to empty your cup, because you wear so many hats as a business owner or an entrepreneur, and you want to do so much, and you put a lot of the pressure that comes from ourselves. Would you agree?
100%.
How do you cope with that type of pressure? Now, what maybe not how do you cope, but what does Matt Gamble do to alleviate that pressure and deal with that on a day-to-day basis?
So I slow things right down now. And I think that's where during that COVID phase, I sort of went through this a bit of awakening of self-development, and then found, you know, life coaches, and ended up on a bit of a journey, ended up in the jungle doing some plant medicine, and just sent me off on a whole different trajectory of life that I'd never thought it would be even possible. So yeah, for me on a daily basis, I make sure I meditate every day. Like I just put some frequency sounds on, I lay down. It might be 5 minutes, 2 minutes, 20 minutes, but for me, it's a chance just to put everything down, and that's why I have frequency sounds on, because my mind will be like, when I lay down, you know, you call it drop in. You lay down, you listen to frequency sounds. It's not telling you anything, but the mind's like, remember you got a podcast. Remember you got to do that. Remember you got to go to Unwind today. You got to do this. You do this. And I just keep breathing through it. And I'm like, I know, it's all good. I got it written down. I know me and Chris had got a podcast at 10:30. This was this morning. These are my thoughts. And then it gets to the point where that voice just sort of goes, and it's just me and these sounds, and I just keep my breath. I just focus on my breathing, and I sort of lay in this, they call it the ether, where it's like you're not alive, but you're not asleep. You're like in this, it's like the realm before you're about to fall asleep.
Yep.
You know, you just come into this, you're aware that you're not asleep, but you're not awake. And I just sit in this space, you know, for as long as I need to. And then I just feel like the click, and it's like, yep, you're good to go. So today I was probably in it for about 15 minutes. Yep, lay down, breathe, busy morning at G3, you know, rub all the energy off from whatever's going on. And then it's sort of like a second half of my day. So I feel like I worked this morning, you know, 4 hours ago, but I felt like I worked 3 days ago.
Yeah.
So that's a must. Been running a lot, making sure that I listen to podcasts when something calls. And then
you search for information by listening to podcasts?
Depends on what it is. Sometimes I like a bit of a journey story.
Yeah.
So I hear about someone's journey, like this type of stuff. Or sometimes it'll be more information if I'm feeling called towards something as well.
Yeah.
Bit of reading as well before bed, which is nice. And then obviously just, you know, training, eating healthy, and keeping my body as sharp as I can. to be able to make intuitive decisions. And then obviously now unwind's open. I'll cold plunge every morning, which helps massively.
Yeah.
If you got some shit to sort out, you'll sort it out in that cold plunge.
Well, yeah, I was telling you today, I take my team. We go once a month and do that. I think that's very important to sort of unwind, which is your name, right?
Yeah.
But how long ago did you implement that strategy to listen to your frequency sounds, to regulate your body, to take a moment to decompress, is what I'd like to call it?
It was during COVID. It was before that. There was, a little bit of running, a little bit of stuff here and there. I always trained and tried to eat healthy, obviously being in the gym industry. But it was what I feel as though that is in life, there's so much doing. We're doing so much.
Yeah.
But it gets to the point where the doing doesn't become as strong because we're not giving ourselves a chance to be. And I feel like there's a place where you can operate from the state of beingness and the doing becomes so much easier. All the things that are just you being, meditate, run, train, sleep, like there's a part of that makes you just be, it gives you a chance to refill. So when you go back into the doing, it becomes a lot more intuitive. You just like decisions become sharp, you're clear, you're focused, rather than you just keep slogging away at the doing. It just becomes fucking everywhere but nowhere. You're not thinking straight. You make stupid decisions and then you get angry at yourself and you talk yourself down and question yourself, where I feel like for me, I understand how I operate. So I go and do, and then I'm like, okay, cool. I'm doing a bit too much now. I've got to come back and be a little bit. So then I'll give myself that time to pull back. It's like a bow and arrow. The more you pull it back, the harder it shoots.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was during that COVID phase that I learned there was practices and tools out there to learn to be a little bit more. So then when I go back into the doing's more effective, and I'm not working at it as hard. I'm like coming in, delivering, getting out, and then going back to fucking meditating and sitting with some frequency sounds.
And do you have like a bedtime, like a nighttime routine to help you unwind to be able to fall asleep easier? Do you find it difficult to fall asleep?
9 times out of 10, I'm pretty good. But the biggest thing is I'll make sure that I'm off Instagram before 8 o'clock.
Yeah.
Because I try and go to bed around 9. I usually get up around 3 to 4.
Yeah.
So if I need to be off Instagram an hour before.
Yeah.
Just that subconscious scrolling, and then I'll go to bed thinking about some fucking photo that I seen of my auntie's sister-in-law in Switzerland from 2008 that has absolutely fucking nothing to do with me right now. But I feel like that's probably a big thing for me. I'll dial it back, make sure 8 o'clock, no more Instagram, all my notifications are turned off.
Yeah.
And then I take some gummies before bed, like these melatonin gummies.
Yeah.
They calm the body down. And then when I get into bed, I lay on my back and I just focus on my breathing, and it just like calms the body down. And then the mind will calm after that. I feel like a lot of people don't realize that the body is a driving force of your life. If your body's riddled and holding on to so much stress and shit, obviously the mind's going to complicate that and join in on that, where it's the body that I sort of tap into of like, oh, what am I feeling right now? I'm feeling a bit anxious. Why are you feeling anxious? Oh, because this, and this. Okay, cool. But there's nothing you can do about it now. How about you just calm down, breathe, and, let it just slowly go. And then that's where the body will calm first, and the mind will calm down along with it. And that's when I sort of doze off.
As an entrepreneur, we have a lot of stress in our life, and I believe that a lot of that comes from the pressure we put on ourselves. How do you dealing with this, implementing this mechanism helps you cope and to deal with your day-to-day journey? What advice would you give to other entrepreneurs that are about to start or know that they do want to go into business, into coping with those stresses?
Learning how to balance, I would come back to probably learning how to balance the being and the doing, because I feel like if you're not an entrepreneur or in that space, it does wrap around a title of thinking that you have to know everything, you have to work at 19 hours a day, you have to know, you have to do all this stuff. Like, once again, talking about the doing. My advice would be stick true to who you are the whole way through. You be a good person. There's a power out there bigger than you and I that controls this whole thing anyway. So it's like, I know if I just move with good intentions and do the best that I can, it always plays out. Because if I look back on data, I've been alive 33 years. it's worked out 100% of the time.
Yeah.
You know, rather than thinking that you need to be a certain way, I feel as though the title entrepreneur and all that stuff has a lot of things wrapped around in it that aren't necessarily true, that you need to have everything sorted. You need to be right. It's like a status thing. But then when you're in it, you realize that you're just a human and
That's
you're just
right.
doing the fucking best you can with what you've been shown, the way you've grown up, whatever you're moving through, you're just doing the best you can. So I would recommend that you obviously take it slow, but also know that, like, you know, I don't know if entrepreneurs are like, I'm an entrepreneur now, I only see my kids once a week. It's like, bro, it doesn't have to be that way.
Yeah.
You'll get a lot further, a lot quicker, at a lot better pace if you learn to make sure that your things that stick true to you come first, and then the business will obviously, you can align the business and your life like that. You know, obviously we're going to have places where it dips up and down, but you know, it'll always sort of level itself out. I think sometimes it sort of gets portrayed a certain way that you've got to just do everything, you know?
I think it's important to have a bit of structure, definitely, but also have a bit of a balance. I know it's hard to find that balance when you're starting a business or when you're scaling a business or writing systems and processes. But it's so important to have that family life balance. How does Matt Gamble do that?
I make sure that I can making sure that I prioritize my schedule based off that. And I'm so gifted with the gym and also the recovery center. I've got space to be able to do so. So I feel for a lot of businesses that are having a slug away for that period of time. I just make sure I prioritize seeing the girls. I have afternoons and mornings off where I can either wake up with them or go to sleep with them. Especially with Unwind opening now, for example, I'll work Sunday night. When I get home, they're asleep. So I make sure that every second week I get Monday morning off because I wake up with them.
Yeah.
If I don't get that, I'm going to be at Unwind Sunday afternoons with my bag packed at the front door waiting for everyone to get the fuck out. No one's paying me for that, you know?
Yeah.
So how can I stay present with these people and deliver a good service knowing that I get that time as well? So then I know if I'm there with them, it's all good. I get to wake up with my girls, and then I wake up with them, see them in the morning, and then I go off and do my thing. So I just make sure with the schedules I prioritize. And then obviously, like, we've only been open 3 weeks, but there was 2 weeks there that I did 13 double shifts. It just had to be that way.
Yeah.
But I'd FaceTime them. I'd make sure I was getting up at 3 a.m. to train because it's the only time I could train. I know the practices that I need to keep me sharp to get through that phase. And it was actually really nice to hustle again because it knows that I've still got the balls to do so. Because sometimes I think when you, like, I've got 6 trainers at G3, it's sort of like you got my double shifts and I had days off. So I sort of had this nice little system going. And it's like, and then when you get thrown back into the trenches, you call it, it's like, fuck, can I still do it? And then it was sort of like part of me was like, fuck it, watch me.
Yeah.
Watch me get through this phase. And then you appreciate when it comes back. I don't want to stay into it too long, but I just want to know I've still got that fucking grit in me. So,
it's a bit exciting, isn't it?
100%. I was running off adrenaline. And then I think the 13th day I got in my car and the second I was driving home, I had the morning off. I instantly got sick. It was like my body was holding on to this fucking thing. By the time we got home, runny nose and shit. And yeah.
But it holds on until you've done it, right?
Bro, seriously, I looked up and I'm coughing on the way home. My missus goes, I just spoke to you. What happened? I said, fuck, I got sick in 5 minutes. That's what I'm saying. The body's so strong. It just knew I had to get through this phase of opening. So, yeah.
I mean, I've just had that happen myself in my business here in St Mary's. Some stuff all went to shit, and all of a sudden I've come back in. I had a few people sick, and it was running fine in my mind, but a few things were going a bit astray. So, but then instead of me getting upset or getting worked up that, hey, that's not organised for that job, or this isn't done, or that's going to be late now, and this hasn't, these things should have been done 4 weeks ago. I'm like, this excites me.
Yeah.
Like, all right, so now there's shit. I've got to get in and get dirty.
Yep.
All right, let's go.
Yep.
And I think that only comes because you're passionate when you first start, and that's why you're in business, right? And I think, being passionate about what you do is one of the biggest driving forces in waking up every day.
100%.
And not throwing the towel in.
Yep.
And, for anyone out there, make sure that you find something that you're passionate in. Is that an advice that you'd give somebody if they're looking to start something?
100%, because if it's just money driven, that's only so far that's going to get you.
Yeah.
Because it's going to be chasing the next. Obviously, we all want to make money. Money makes the world go round. But finding something that gives you some sort of passion in the sense of like you enjoy knowing that you've, I've got to make this a landscaper. He goes, my passion is knowing that I complete a job and it looks amazing and the people are happy. or, you know, obviously the money comes with it, but I'm happy to get dirty to do that.
Yeah.
You know, and obviously my passion is to be able to help people also recover now as well as train. So I've got the gym and the recovery center balance, but 100% there needs to be a part of you that feels, you can feel the business. You're not just thinking, oh, if I get X, I'm going to get X, because if that doesn't work and you don't get the $1 million you're looking for, well, you got to fucking land on something.
That's
because
right.
it's going to be a big drop. You need to have that feeling of like, I'm going to feel into this. I'm going to give a quality service. I'm going to make people want to use me for whatever I can facilitate with. And then, you know how it grows. People tell people, and I'm in that phase at the moment with Unwind, because I opened and I'm like, where the fuck is everyone?
Yeah.
Fuck, what are you talking about? And then it was just like handful of people. And I'm like, you know what? I'm going to actually enjoy this time. And I think that comes from the 7 years of development I've had from G3 to Unwind, knowing that it all works out. Just keep being a good person, delivering a good service. And then, you know, I would have 3 people come in and then I'll give them a good service rather than being like, where's the other 20?
Yeah.
Then those 3 people bought 3 more people, 6 more people. Oh, these people heard about this because of this person. And that's where I'm in that phase at the moment of growing something, of letting the trees and the branches come off the tree of just, but the core of it is I'm a good person. I'm going to deliver a quality service, and I genuinely give a fuck if you recover, and I want to see you better yourself in whatever way possible.
Yeah. And you have a valuable product and service to give to people.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people think that when they go out and start and they put a price on something, sometimes they believe that they need to drop their price and drop their price to compete with others. But it doesn't hold value, right? And the brand is the most important thing for you because it's your brand,
Yep.
right? You talked before about going on a spiritual journey. So I wanted to ask you a few questions about that because I too believe in, a higher being, yes, all right, I believe in something out there,
Yep.
right? I'm not the most religious person in the world, but I do believe in the universe.
Yep.
Because there's been many times in my life that I've been able to say, this has only happened to me, right? And I've got a saying in my business. There have been many times that we spent a lot of money and a lot of time quoting a project. We never won it. Now, instead of getting upset at that builder or getting upset at the fact that we didn't win the job, I have always told my team, don't worry, we didn't win it for a reason.
Yeah.
There's always a reason. Now, we're not going to know that reason right now. But somebody up there doesn't want me to have that job, right?
Love that.
And a lot of the time what's happened is the builder's gone bankrupt or the window company went bankrupt. And, so talk to me about your spiritual journey and what, tell me.
Yeah.
Enlighten me how that all happened for you, mate.
Yeah, no, it was it came out of nowhere, that's for sure. It just the COVID process had me down the realm of reading books, being addicted to knowing that there's parts of me that I just couldn't feel. And then started aligned with a life coach over in New Zealand. And I was going out of my mind because I didn't know what was actually happening, but I was actually detaching from all the process of and the systems of what I thought I was growing up, the way I was brought up, my growing up phase, school, being a big kid, all these stories I had telling myself for fucking 25, 30 years just got engraved in me, like suppressed and pushed down into my soul. And I just would still, play those victimized stories. It's like this because it was like this, I'm I was insecure because of this and, this and all these stories. And, it got to the point where I listened to Aubrey Marcus, famous podcaster in America. And this is where like you'll flip out on how the universe worked in this favor. But I'm listening to this podcast and every week I'd just dial in. He's a famous guy in the States. And then he had this guy on named Sean Chester. And I'm just listening and halfway through the podcast, this guy's story was unbelievable. He lived in America in Vegas. He was the hitman of Vegas, you could say. He worked for Steve Wynn, which was Wynn Hotel. He was the guy that started the nightclubs in Vegas, $1 million nightclubs in Vegas. He started Encore, Omnia, all of them. And long story short, the Russian mafia came in and kidnapped him, gave him this drink. He still doesn't know what it was. Ended up being like, if you sort of don't make some moves, we're sort of going to keep you here. So he sold everything, ended up in the jungle. Ended up doing an ayahuasca retreat with Aubrey, his mate, and then he ended up living in the jungle doing ayahuasca retreats, and like he lived 9 lives. Like it was insane. Halfway through the podcast, I typed his name in, couldn't find him. So I was like, I'll just keep listening. I just wanted to say, dude, this is crazy what you've been through. Like, well done. Couldn't find him. Anyways, end of the podcast, Aubrey says, how can people find you? And then Sean says, the Native Guides. That's his retreat name. Surreal My Kid's Life. Type in the Native Guides. I'm already following him. He's already following me. As I go to send him a message, he likes a photo of my daughters.
Ooh.
I'm typing a text saying, hey, dude, I don't know how. And he had 8,000 followers, only following 200 people, and I was one of them. And I'm like, dude, what the fuck? And it come up, and I'm just like, and he goes, what do you want to do? Like, he goes, this is how this stuff works. Because they say with ayahuasca, the plant finds you. I just said, well, I'm going to have to come see you in Colombia. So booked my trip. And then right before I was supposed to go, about a month out, he wasn't contacting me, and I'm starting to think, fuck, is this some sort of G up?
Yeah.
Then he goes, we need to talk. And I was like, fuck, when you get, we need to talk. I'm like, fuck.
Yeah, something's going on.
He calls me and he's FaceTiming me, and he's pacing up and down in the jungle. You can see like his wooden roof. And he's telling me that he hurt his shoulder and he's called up. We were supposed to have 6 people for our retreat. He's called up the 5 people and cancelled, but every time he's gone to call me, he just felt that he couldn't. And he just kept pacing, and I could see up like the roof. And I just said to Sean, I said, mate, I've done a lot of work. I said, I know we've only connected a couple of times, but I've done a lot of self-work to understand if I'm not supposed to come, I'm not supposed to come.
Yeah.
The plant finds me.
Yeah.
Like if this is the block, then brother, I said, stop feeling so expected of like thinking you have to show up as a host if you did want me to come.
Yeah.
And he stopped and he's like, that's it. You're supposed to come. I'm like, he goes, because you've just made me drop that feeling of thinking that I have to show up as something more than myself. He goes, sweet, we'll do a 101 retreat, you and me. I was like, fuck, all right. Ended up in the jungle.
But you didn't expect anything.
No, I said, yeah.
You just being you, being real.
Yep. And that's what I wanted him to be. I said, you don't have to feel expected.
Yeah.
Just treat it like a mate's coming over for a week. Like you don't have to put on a show, and he just felt like, and that comes down to when you're passionate about something, you want to go over. So that was his thing. And then ended up in the jungle, did a 3-night Colombian deep in the jungle. Like we're on motorbikes going over these wooden bridges and like deep in there. And he's American. So it was me and him and then all the Colombians with the shaman. We were supposed to do 3 nights in a row. We only ended up doing 2 nights because the second night of my retreat, I had a full-blown ego death, which is like the deepest experience you can have in the medicine.
What's that?
It's a full-blown detachment of the identity of all the stories you told yourself. So it was like
On who you are.
on who I am. So I had a clean slate. So the first night, and it's crazy how this works. The first night I had some visions and it was beautiful because with the shaman, he called me up first. And when you drink a cordial, the top's a bit like weak and the bottom's thick. I was the first one to get called up and it was a bit weaker, but I still had the experience. I laid down, drank the medicine, 20, 30 minutes in, I could feel it marinating in my body because it sits in your system for about 8 to 12 hours and it shoots you off into another realm. Like it's the deepest experience you can have in this life. There's psilocybin, there's LSD, there's all that, but ayahuasca's like, and he said to me before when I got there, what have you done? I said, nothing. He goes, oh fuck, we're about to go on a fucking journey then.
Yeah.
So the first night I had like some visions and I journaled it all. And one of the things I journaled was I was standing in the open arcade in Penrith. And that was a 1.5 years before I signed Unwind. Unwind is in the open arcade in Penrith.
Yeah, right.
And my missus goes, that's a trip. Like I was standing there and all I wrote was I'm standing in the open arcade in Penrith near the lolly shop. I'm looking up. I don't know why. That was it. 1.5 years later, we signed Unwind and it's literally upstairs in the open arcade. So that was pretty cool. And just had some visions of like, I've got to accept a mother's love and, my mum and my mother-in-law, I'm sort of like their rock. So I've always had this interpretation that I always have to show up as the hard one because I'm the rock. I'm their rock. I got to, So when they give me love, it makes me feel uncomfortable.
Yeah.
So I show up as this, I'm fucking, thank you. I appreciate it. All good. Yep. Cool.
Yeah.
So that was a vision that I had the first night of understanding that. And it was so clear because ayahuasca it's a mother energy. So it comes down and it's like You know, Will Smith and Jim Carrey have all done it. So they talk about their experiences. It's like your grandma that will give you some love, but then slap you across the back of the head. They put it in. So if you don't accept what comes up, there's a lot of resistance. That's why a lot of people puke and poop and get all the shit out. And I was puking the whole time, which was nice, but to get all the shit out. But yeah, the first night was just a couple visions, accepting mother's love, the vision in the open arcade, all that stuff. And then I was loving it. I'm like, this is beautiful, hugging everyone, and all the Colombians are laughing. Then the shaman's looking at me like, you wait till night 2. And I'm like fucking dancing.
I'm good.
I got a cigar. I'm dancing around the fire because you drink at 8 p.m. and then you're done at about 8 a.m. So it's DMT. So it sits in your system. So I kept going to the toilet, like vomiting, getting it all out. And then the second night I was like, oh, this is great. We're going to go again. I was the last one to be called up. So I had the dirt,
druggy stuff,
the real shit.
Yeah.
I drank it, laid in my hammock, because you're in hammocks and you can hear like rats and cats. It's as jungle as it can get. And I'm laying there and it's just like nice. And then I was like thinking like I might go home tomorrow. Like I feel like I've got the feeling that I'm looking for. Next thing you know, just bang, I disintegrated into dust. I became one with the universe. And they talk about just this melting feeling. And I was just melting laying there. And I remember like being like, fuck's going on? And then this energy come down, and they say it's a mother energy. Everyone that does ayahuasca says it's a mother energy. And it's not like a lady comes down and has a chat with you. You can just feel that it's like my vision was like a mermaid come down sort of thing. Bit like that. And it was the mother ayahuasca, and she says, your heart's about to stop, my son, but it's okay. And because I did a lot of work before I went, I understood that if you don't accept what comes up, there's a lot of resistance that comes with it. It's sort of like her telling me something, me saying, no, I know the way. And that's when the puking and the vomiting, and they're like, well, cool, you're going to have a shit experience if you're not going to accept what I'm bringing forward.
Yeah.
And I think Will Smith did a podcast talking about where he was arguing with mother ayahuasca for 6 hours. And she just kept saying, stop talking, stop talking, stop talking. And he kept going back at her. He kept saying, nope, that's not right. No, that's not right. I think it had to do with his wife. There was some stuff there with his wife. And Will Smith, he did a podcast, just kept fighting against it. And she just kept like burning him. Like he just kept vomiting and pooping. He's like, no. And she's like, stop talking. He stopped talking, and then she finally gave him all the wisdom. And he was like, ever since then, he knows when he drops in and she comes through that he's got to just let go of the fucking steering wheel. So I let go straight away.
Are you hallucinating?
You're not hallucinating. I'm just laying there with my eyes shut. And it's just all
in your own thoughts?
In my own thoughts.
Yeah.
It's all feeling. Nothing, I didn't have my eyes open. It's all feeling.
Yeah.
But describing it, it was like a mermaid come down. She goes, your heart's about to stop, my son, but it's okay. And it felt so right. And I was just like, yep. So it's like accepting death.
Yeah.
She grabs my chest, throws it up into the sky. And I just laid, and I was in this realm for I don't know how long. There's no time. It's infinite. And it was like I was being carried. And all I had was this little breath. It was just like for I don't know how long. Anyways, I just felt like I've been carried this whole time. It was like, see, silly. If I could describe it into words, it was like, see, silly, this is what it's like. I've got you always. I know you're going to hurt. You're going to feel pain. You're going to suffer. You're going to fucking live life, but you're here to live a human experience.
Yeah.
What do you like? Let's enjoy that.
Yeah.
And as much as we can go on our journeys and fucking fuck up and whatever, it was just knowing that I'm like carried. And that's sort of like the energy that everyone receives through the ayahuasca is that it's like the mother energy of like your grandma's got your back, but get out the fucking back. Sort your shit out.
Yeah.
So just laid in that energy and then come out of it, and I could start to like move. And Sean comes over to the hammock. He goes, are you good? And I'm like, I think I just died. And he goes, what happened? And I told him within 2 sentences, and he just took a big deep breath out. He goes, all right, this is going to take some time. So he sat me in my hammock, and it was like I was reborn again because all my senses started coming back one by one. So I opened my eyes and I looked at him, and he was huge.
Yeah.
And I just go, nah, I can't. And he goes, it's all good. Just listen to my voice. And he just started talking slow and softly. So my hearing started to come back first. Not that I couldn't hear, just the feel. Like it was just like, fuck. Like He goes, can I touch you? And he put his hand on my shoulder. I'm like, I was so sensitive. I'm like, oh, and he's like, all right. He got me some alcohol, some honey, because he's only ever seen it happen twice before. And the other guy it happened to was an ex-army military man who went through a bad war series of all this shit and he ended up running through the jungle and freaking out. So Sean had to catch him with the Colombians and bring him back and calm him down. So for me, he sort of knew what to do, but knew that he had to go slow because this guy freaked out. So yeah, and then he goes, can I touch you on the shoulder? He put his hand on my shoulder. I'm like, it's good. It took me about an hour and a half to come good. Then I opened my eyes and I could start to talk again. And then I'm like, I've got to go to the toilet. And he's like, well, get up. I'm like, bro, I can't get up. I don't know how to. And I knew I had it. I knew my name. I knew I had kids. I knew what I knew. But everything looked and felt and smelt and everything was brand new. And he got up and he goes, move your, like, he's like telling me how to walk, like move your left leg. Right leg. I'm like, I've got to piss. And he's like, you know, push through your hips. And I'm pissing. I'm like, oh my God, this feels so fucking good. I look up at the moon and he's standing behind me. He's got his hand on my back and he's like, how beautiful is it? I'm like, oh my God, bro, that's the moon. And then I come back to the Maloka where we sit with the fire and the shaman and everyone. And he's like, can I have a hug? I gave him a hug. I'm like, you can have my hug, but don't take my virginity. And he looks at me, he goes, all right, you're back. He goes, so he lit up a cigar and then all the Colombians come over and gave me a hug and welcome to your new life. And ever since that day, there's just this part of me that I can access to know that there is a power that I've fucking was carried in this realm. And they say you can either meditate for 10 years or you can go to a week in plant medicine and do an ayahuasca retreat and receive exactly what you need because it's 10 hours. It's not like you can drink it and then be 20 minutes in and be like, I'm ready to go now.
Yeah.
You've got to fucking sit and you got to let it all out. And from that point, I come back. I was a bit rattled for a bit because like I remember going into the plaza and had to leave straight away because there was so much energy because in the jungle it's still, you know. And yeah, I just had he sat down with the shaman and explained to him in Colombian what happened. And shaman's like, you've had an ego death. And you can research it and it tells you probably better than the way I explain it. But I sort of had a clean slate on everything. Everything I told myself growing up.
You let everything go.
Yeah. And don't get me wrong, it still comes up. Like, because 50% of it is doing the plant medicine, but then 50% is integration. So like when I get back, it wasn't like everything was good. Shit still come up, but it had a bit of a distance. It wasn't who I was. I'm like, hang on a second. I'm not going to feed that, you know.
I'm not that person anymore.
Exactly. You know, and I still fuck up and I still miss the mark and I still have days that I'm still living the human experience, but I accessed a realm that made me feel something that, you know, that I know that there is something there, you know. So, and that was 3 years ago. I've got a calling to probably go back at the end of the year. And yeah, just from that point, just did a bit of work with him afterwards, one-on-one work, just to Zooms and just check in with me. And I've got a soul brother that carried me through that whole thing, you know.
How amazing is that for you?
Oh man.
To have gone through that and to have somebody there with that connection.
Yeah.
I
I cry when we talk sometimes. And I remember getting back to my room and because I didn't take my phone. So the day after the ego death, I was just fucking gassed. And we went back because you jump back on the bike at 8 a.m. and he drives us back into where he lives because the jungle's jungle. And then we go sort of back into his house. And I remember grabbing my phone and he's like, that's your family right there. And like my girls, and I just cried, man.
Yeah.
Cried all day. I cried. And he's like, do you want to go tonight? I'm like, I don't got nothing left. And he's like, well, because what's happened, we don't have to go again. And I just cried and he's like, that is your love. And it's such a beautiful thing. I got home and before I went to the jungle, I wanted to know who I was, why I'm here, and how can I serve? Those are my sort of 3 questions. I got home, my missus, she let me go for a bit, like just knew that I was a bit coming back. She was like, what'd you get? I'm like, I thought I was going for these things. What I got was more self-love and respect for myself, knowing I'm doing the best I can. And then I remember like a week later, my daughter, she was playing with me. I started crying. And I'm like, you guys love me so much. And Janae's like, we've always loved you this way.
Yeah.
She goes, you were the one that had to open that door first and then let us come through, bro. And that was like, to me, I'm like, fucking rattled me. And I was just like, she goes, you had to open up that door. now you can let us come through and you can receive all the love we've been giving you. Because as men and as entrepreneurs and all these titles, we put all these fucking pressure on ourselves to show up and we just got to do. And I just gave myself a chance to be, and it was so simple yet so effective of like, and my missus goes, you just had to open up that door. You know?
They always bring the best out in us, don't they?
Biggest teachers. Biggest teachers, our kids. They're just so present, you know, so there. Sometimes I say to my daughter, I'm like, we're playing dolls, and I'm like, how's your day today? She's like, and I'm like, what happened? And she's like, and do you know what she's doing? She's just looking at me going, Dad, why are we going back there? I'm here with you now. Let's be present.
Enjoying the moment.
Let's just enjoy what's going on. She doesn't even know. She goes, I don't know. I'm here with you now. And I'm just like, how many times do we travel back and forward? You know, depression comes from the past. Anxiety comes from the future. Anxiety comes from stressing about something that could possibly happen. And it's funny because you can stress about something to be a certain way and build up all this energy to go, I have to get that fucking job. It has to go. I've got to go. And then you get it and it's like, oh, thank God. And it's like you've felt the whole shit.
It's like a roller coaster.
100%. And then depression is in the past, thinking about all the times we're fucked up. There's no one out there that's not fucked up. You know, we're human. So they just dial me right back, you know. So it was a pretty pivotal moment in my life to travel and fucking shoot from the stars from there.
Were you scared going there?
It felt too right. You know, the feeling overtook the thinking. I've got kids. I'm traveling to the Colombian jungle.
Do people die taking ayahuasca?
Nah. There has been times, but the reason people have died is because of something that's caused. And there's only been like a handful of deaths, but it's been caused from something else.
Yeah.
They've currently got psilocybin and they've got retreats now in America. That's why that John F. Kennedy is building, Trump got elected president. John F. Kennedy is building psilocybin places all over America to help people heal. Because psilocybin itself, mushrooms can do the same sort of thing, but ayahuasca just sits in your stomach for longer. And you can do it in Australia, but if I was going to do it, I was going to the source.
Yeah, of course.
You know, the stronger, apparently where the medicine's made is where the energy's stronger. And it's like wine. My vine that I drank was 35 years old. So it was like it shot me straight off into the fucking stratosphere.
Yeah, that's amazing. How did you prepare for that trip? You said before you did a lot of work on yourself before you went.
Yeah.
I know a lot of guys, they don't really take 5 minutes to check in with themselves to see if they're all right. They just try and keep going. What work did you do? How did you prepare for that trip? For anybody that's potentially looking at going and doing a trip like that.
Yeah, I did a lot of, I started meditating. And that's the thing with meditation. A lot of people think it's you cross your legs and you put your hands on your fucking knees and you hum or whatever. Meditation is just however you want it to be. You just got to learn to quieten the mind. So I started meditating and then I worked out what worked for me, because sometimes you can meditate and listen to people telling you what to do. But sometimes for me, I'm still listening to words. So the frequency sounds was my thing. So I started meditating. I started looking up, researching ayahuasca. And I just started slowing things right down. But a week before you go, you got to cut no meat, no caffeine, no sugar, no porn. You just got to cleanse your body before you go. So all those little numbing devices and things that, because it's obviously a body experience, you want to sort of cleanse your body as much as you can. And, you know, our testosterone, our semen is our life force. So it's like you sort of got to let that build. And then the stronger your body is to take the ayahuasca, the more profound the experience was going to be. So I made sure I dialed in and did everything that was needed to make sure my experience was what it was supposed to be.
You're not going there half-cocked.
Yeah, exactly. And that's what Sean said. He goes, it makes sense why you traveled all the way to that's why I didn't have to cancel on you. He goes, this is exactly what's supposed to happen. So yeah, and it's coming out more and more. I did it 3 years ago and I've noticed the last, say, 6 months to a year, a lot more people are talking about ayahuasca and a lot more famous people are coming out saying what their experiences, you know, Machine Gun Kelly, Will Smith, Kim Kardashian, Mike Tyson, so many famous people. And the reason that they're doing it is because they've got this identity attachment. So when you're in the realm of ayahuasca, you're not fucking Mike Tyson who's won 50 titles and this, that, and the other. You're not Jim Carrey with all these fucking statuses. It strips you back to your core. You know, it gives you an opportunity to reset and go, hang on a second. Who am I beyond all these layers? And I think that sometimes we create too many layers. you get put too far out there and you like a roller coaster where it's like, strip it back. Who is Chris? Who is Matt beyond, we know our names, we know our jobs, we know that, but who is the being that's fucking in that soul? People don't access that.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, but yeah.
And were you scared?
There was not one part of me that was scared because it felt too right.
Yeah.
I think about it now and I'm like,
It's fucking crazy.
you go in the Colombian jungle to like, there were so many variables. But once again, my missus said, she goes, you're going to learn something about yourself that will that will be passed on to the kids. If it feels right, it feels right, So,
And how was she with you with that idea when you first brought it up?
she was sweet. She probably because she had a week without me. You go do your thing. Nah, she was good. She's obviously got a bit of a spiritual side to herself as well. So she knows, and she's done a lot of work around that to know that if it feels right, it feels right, And that's the thing, researching and understanding what it does, because when you're in it, you can't freak out and be like, I want out. Like I said before,
Doesn't work like that.
It marinates, and it marinated in my system for, say it stays in your system for like 6 months.
Yep.
So there's still parts where I'd just be walking down the street 2 months later and I'm just like, oh, fuck. And I'll sort of have to slow down a bit. But yeah.
And how was your journey getting to Colombia?
Fuck.
Because you can't just fly there.
Bro. So it was 15 hours to LA, and I actually stayed in LA for 4 nights, and I did Universal Studios for my 30th birthday, which was cool.
On your own or?
I'm by myself.
Yeah.
Single rider, express pass.
Yeah.
Fucking did the whole thing 3 times. The single rider's like, single rider, bro. I did it in the morning, went back and slept, and I did it again at night. So I did that, and then it's 8 hours from LA to Colombia. And then when I got to Colombia, I was showing the lady where I had to go. It was called like Villa Gazon, and she's like looking at me like, you're a fucking idiot. And then this guy overheard me and he's like, it's down there. And the place that I went to from Colombia only has 2 planes in and out a week. And it was like a fucking dodgy 25-man seater, 1 lady, 1 pilot, fucking tinny thing that took me there. And then he met me there, jumped on his bike, hour into the jungle. And then from his place, it was probably 15 minutes deeper into the jungle, which took me. And it was good because after my ayahuasca, I'd had 2 nights there with him. So I had time to like cry and get all the shit out.
Unwind and decompress again.
Yeah. And then it was good because I had 2 days to like sit by myself on the plane, really sit with what sort of I moved through.
Yeah.
Then got home and then, fucking went with it.
And then reality sets back in. And then you just go through the motions again on how you cope with everything. And
Yeah. And it was like it's still a journey. It's forever a journey. I thought that was it. Cool. But then I'm like, fuck, well, how do I know the light without the dark, the good without the bad, the up without the down? Because I had such a profound experience. I was like, this is it. Fuck. And it was with a mix of, remember you're human.
Yes.
Because in my experience, I said to Sean, and he quotes it now, he tells people, he said, you come into this world as love. You're born as just a soul, conscious. You look at a baby and it's funny how we all just get funny with babies because they just bring us back to that being. You leave this world as love, but then where's the love in the middle, And that was the thing that sort of come through for me was like, you got to stop being so fucking hard on yourself. You got to stop fucking drilling yourself because you're doing the best you can as a man that's fucking grown up in housing commission and sort of, I'm blessed with my parents that just did the best they could, but I had to learn everything that I've sort of moved into, it wasn't like I sort of had the knowledge and the experience of a mentor as such. I sort of had to build my own thing, and that was a trip in itself. I wrote my mum and dad a letter a couple of years ago, just thanking them for who they are and what they're about. And it was just because for so many years I had so much resistance of holding a title of like, why can't you just be like a mum and a dad? But I was like, hang on a sec. Like you watch an American movie and you see the mum and the dad and the family and the dad puts the kids to bed. And, my old man's doing his thing. Mum's just doing the best she can as a single mum and they're fucking around and fighting whatever. And there was so much resistance there. So part of my journey was like every time I'd catch up, I'd have this resistance in my body of like, and then they'd play with my girls and I'm like, where was it when the fuck was my thing? And then I had this build up, man. And then I just fucking let go of it. Wrote my mum and dad a letter for Christmas. Christmas Eve, we catch up with my family. I gave my mum and dad a letter. I said, I love you. Please don't read this here. I'd want you to sit with it. Gave my dad a letter. And then mum just sent me a big message afterwards saying, I love you. Thank you. Like, and then my old man, Didn't hear from him. I was like, okay, cool, fuck. You know, next day I was on my way to my mother-in-law's for Christmas Day, and he sent me a video, and I thought it was him eating the rest of the prawns. I was like, oh, it's Dad. Clicked on it. It's him bawling his eyes out. 7-second video, and he's like, thank you, son. I love you. And like, what I seen was a kid that was abandoned. He was put on a doorstep 6 weeks old. How do I expect for him to be able to show me love when he was put on a doorstep at 6 weeks old, you know? And I looked at that video, and to this day, we've never spoken about it face to face. But I know now he has a letter in his top drawer that he can access that releases him from all that pain of thinking all those years that he fucked up, fucked around on mum, showed up when he wanted to show up, whatever. I've just said, I love you for you. There you go. You know, and then
unlock those chains, drop those chains.
Bro. Since that day, we're just like the best of mates, you know, and I don't hold that resistance, and he doesn't have to fight for that anymore. He knows if he's having a dark day, pull that letter out. He's got something that he can look back on, knowing that his son loves him and accepts him for who he is. And then he has a ball with the girls now. And I just like, and I sit back and I love it because it's like,
not awkward.
It's like he's playing with me.
Yeah.
He's playing with my kids, and I'm watching, and he's like, Matt. And I'm like, no, do your thing, because I'm getting that. See, I'm the one that's changed the whole fucking game in the family. You know, otherwise I would have continued that resistance on, you know, so.
I think it's so important. In every family we have chains. We have something that's holding us down. And it has to take somebody very strong-willed like yourself to go, you know what? I'm not wearing them anymore. Yeah. I'm creating a new path, and everybody's going to follow because you're taking that strong energy with you, right?
100%.
And when you talk about kids, like you were talking before about kids, I get teared myself. They breathe so much life into us. They make everything so worth it, you know? And I think it's very powerful. But on top of that, you also now have a video yourself.
Yeah.
That you can look back on.
100%.
And, you know, I was lucky my parents were together when you know, still to today. Yeah. I haven't had an easy upbringing either. I grew up in Western Sydney like you. We had to fight for everything you have. I was a fat little kid, redhead, got picked on, punching on with kids all the time because I had no choice. Yep. And what I've learned from the things that my dad taught me was, hey, there's no book for this shit on being a parent, is there? You just have to do the best with what you have. Yep. And, you know, and I commend you for what you're doing, mate, because I can tell you now would be a role model to many people, especially your parents and your family close around you, those who know you. Yeah. Thank you. And man, look, I really appreciate you coming in and having a chat to me. I think this has been amazing. I've learned a lot myself. Yeah. And I commend you for what you're doing, mate. I'm proud of you. Thank you, mate. And keep doing what you're doing, mate. Thank you. And I know as a business owner, entrepreneur, there's not many people that tell us that. Yeah. So, mate, what you're doing is amazing. Yeah. Keep it up. Thanks, mate. Appreciate it. Thank you, Matt Gamble. Thank you for having me on, brother. Appreciate it. That was good.